Hi, everyone. Welcome to a very special episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMordie, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. This very special episode is special because it is a podcast mashup, a podcast swap, 2-for-1 deal. I don't really know what you call it, between my podcast, Second Act Actors, and Naomi Snieckus' podcast from the Firecracker Department. Naomi and I have known each other virtually for a long time and wanted to have this conversation for a long time. I mean, we thought we both have podcasts. Why not record one together and each use it for our show? Because, 2-for-1, time and energy. Let's save those two finite resources. This conversation is an absolute delight, as you would expect from someone as incredibly delightful as Naomi. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited for you to hear this conversation. Please enjoy this lovely podcast 2-for-1 special, Second Act Actors, Firecracker Department, myself, Naomi Snieckus. Please enjoy. I hope you love it.
I'm with you. And then I remember sitting in my car and doing my intros on the Zoom recorders. We're in a different world, Janet.
It's
so this is great.
New world. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I know I listened to some of my older episodes and I hate to use the word cringe because we all are using it all the time these days, but I do exactly that. I'm just thinking to myself, Janet, shut up.
Shut up.
Let your guests talk.
I think that now. I think sometimes I'm listening to myself. I'm like, shut it. It's okay. You don't even need, granted, sometimes I feel like I have to say, just so people know I'm still there. That's all.
Yes.
Yeah. That's what it goes.
Like you were saying, and this sounds so bad, but nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
And I also don't care about myself. I want to hear my guest story.
Me
It's
too.
usually so fascinating. And I don't know about you, but most of my guests kind of say, I don't really know if I have anything to say. And they always have just pure gold.
The biggest folks have, even people that I've talked to that are like, why would you want to talk to me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? So I don't mind that.
I love
these flyaways.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm just thinking the same. I'm like, it's Monday. It's Monday.
I just washed my hair for the first time in a week.
Oh my gosh. It's one of those days.
Okay, do you have an intro stuff or do you want to just launch in?
Let's just launch in.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thrilled. This is so fun. I mean, this mashup idea sort of goes for all my different ways of working, which is A, love chatting with you, love chatting with new people. B, 2-for-1.
Exactly.
Love it.
Exactly.
Love it.
And we're all about that, saving some time, energy, our two most finite resources.
Yeah. No kidding. So we're going to talk Janet McMordie, and we're going to talk Second Act Actors podcast. And we're going to talk Firecracker Department. We're going to talk Naomi Snieckus. We're going to talk about all of it. But I have a question for you right out. I don't think I've ever seen somebody's credit that says actor/doctor. That is the most, the coolest thing I've ever seen, really.
Oh my gosh. I appreciate that. Yeah, you know what? It's interesting. I'm not the only one. I've interviewed several for my podcast,
really?
And there are more out there.
Actor lawyers/lawyers, but there's a lot of actor but how, that's a joke to me. I wish I could be on set tomorrow, but I'm in surgery, which is not
I always
possible.
make the joke of, if in case this acting career doesn't work out, I'll just, fall back
on your day job?
My day job. Yeah.
Your job?
But also the joke of oh yes, my parents are so thrilled that I'm like, Mom, Dad, I think I want to quit medicine and learn how to be an actor.
Wow. Yeah, what did they say?
You know what? And I make that joke, but seriously, my dad, my parents are such creative individuals.
Yeah.
My dad has always been so supportive of whatever crazy scheme my sister and I have always wanted to do.
Amazing.
And I know he's listened to some episodes, and he's like, I've always supported you, right? I know, Dad.
He's always hearing the feedback.
He's hearing the kind of the funny jokes about oh my God, why are you wanting to be an actor when you're already a doctor?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's always been so supportive, and again, coming from an upbringing of being very creative.
Yeah.
Are
they both artists?
No, and that's the interesting thing. They're both, like, I would say, they're both teachers,
Okay.
but very creative musicians. My mom played guitar and the bagpipes. My dad plays bagpipes.
Gosh.
They were singers. My dad was a dancer. So there's always music around and always encouragement to do creative things. And I remember the way my dad problem solves is really creative. So like school projects I would have to do, that would always be huge amounts of creativity, but also very logical, pragmatic upbringing as well too, saying, you know, it's nice to think of a career of whimsy, which I think a lot of us had upbringing saying, oh, wouldn't that be wonderful? But then, you know, maybe think of other things because we love you and want you to succeed. It comes from, I think, a good place, but
I don't even think it's the succeed part. I think it's more like the security part. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think, because like everybody thinks you're going to succeed. Your parents think the world of you. So they're going to say, you're going to be fine in everything you do. But it's just way more secure to start being a doctor. Because you're never going to audition for another job. Like, you're going to get a job and keep going and keep going. So I think that's the fear parents have.
Yeah. And I wonder if, like, so I'm curious about your story. Were you always an actor or did you switch?
No, so similar to you, both my parents were creative, although my father was an organic chemistry professor. Right? Organic chemistry.
We all hate that course.
I know, but Olga loved him. Like, because he was like the coolest organic chemist. Wait, I have a picture of him. Look at this. This is him and my mom.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I want to hang out with them.
I know. So that's the kind of professor he was. Like, just a cool, and he would like have student parties where they'd all go and play like street hockey at the end of the night. So, but he'd also say like, my chemistry is my art. So at Christmas once, he gave me like a framed, like, organic chemistry diagram. I don't know. Yeah, formula. And my mom was mostly stay at home, but she was also an actor. And so when I wanted to go into acting, I had more like, what am I doing? That's not safe. That's not like a secure thing. That's not really a job, is it? So I kind of like dragged my heels going in and did like a general arts. And then I did 2 years of a general arts. And then I was like, I gotta dive in. And I auditioned for a theater school at TMU. And then I never looked back. So I never had a different job. I had definitely piecemeal. Like, I always think that one of the keys to my level of success is being able to spin a lot of plates and do about a bunch of different jobs. You know, like I waitressed, but I also did stage. I also did voiceover and cartoons. And then like early days, I used to do, what's it called when you like were test subjects for marketing campaigns?
Oh my gosh, interesting.
So
like
fun.
like focus groups.
Yeah. So I get like $100 to drink orange juice all day. So yeah, I've never had a different job though. I'm super lucky in that sense.
Now I'm curious about, again, we're talking about parents. Did your parents or anyone when you were growing up kind of dissuade you from pursuing that? Again, well-intentioned or not.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a boyfriend that was like, no, what are you doing? Like, what? Like, I remember sitting down and we were young, we were writing like the list of things we wanted to do. And I was like, actor. And he was like, I think you can do better.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I think that he came from a place of like, he wanted to change the world. He was like in urban and regional planning. He was that kind of, but for me, I think we can change the world with our art. So it was a shift in my brain. And my mom was definitely concerned. The biggest concern was a border guard once that said like, he said, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm an actor. And then Matt, my husband, was at the border as well. And they were like, and what does he do? I'm like, he's an actor too. And he went, well, how does that work?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, I don't know. We're going to make it work. I don't know.
Let me into your country.
Yeah.
I'm literally no threat.
Do you have the same feeling like going into acting as a secondary job? Like, are you sort of like now or never kind of feeling?
Ooh, it's interesting because I've definitely had that feeling. And I've had conversations with other second act actors, as we've dubbed ourselves, that the train has left the station and we are sprinting to try and catch up.
Yeah.
Because...
Who's we? What do you mean? Like
we like second act actors, people who didn't go to
I
theater
see.
school,
Got
who
it,
are
got it.
trying to explore this later on in life, and we're now like especially catching up, and I'm in the union, and so I'm quote unquote competing at like the Olympics, but I haven't been training. And so I'm competing against other people who are in my demographic who've been doing this since they were 6, right? And trying to do it. And I'm like, oh, shoot. You kind of have to try and avoid that feeling of, oh, what a waste of time. And it's interesting because the person who said, excuse me, what do you mean waste of time? Your life doesn't go away. Was a casting director, Jesse Griffiths. He was like,
Love Jesse.
He's like, your life experience doesn't just go away in a puff of smoke when you decide to change a career.
Yeah.
Like of course not.
Yeah.
You're building on that.
I don't think anybody doesn't feel like their time is limited when they're doing something they love doing. Like I do feel like whatever I've gone into like acting classes, I'm like, oh man, what if I've been wasting my time? I should have been training this whole thing. So you are where you are.
Yeah.
And there's nothing you can do to change it.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no time machines yet, but you know what I mean? You can't go back in time. So the life experience that you have has led you to this, and you are where you are. So, take the ball and run.
And I find that, and I know this is a shift that I think a lot of people struggle with, and I know I do and will for until my days are up, but that feeling of, okay, I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, and that being acting, or also that being medicine, because I don't want to be desperate for my art to make money, but then I also don't want to fully do medicine because that caused me to burn out. Case in point, pandemic. But then you get people saying, well, no, you can't put your feet in 2 different buckets, because then you're like trying to do the splits. And so it's a weird balance, I find.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Well, I'm curious to see how you're doing, because how long have you been living this dual life?
Pandemic shift was a big one for me. So I guess we're going on, this is 4 years.
Yeah.
Trying to do both.
So do you find like you can see, like, it's almost like there are plates that are spinning and you see one that's slowing down, you got to give that a whirl, then you see the other one that's spinning and you go back. Is that how you're sort of navigating right now?
I think so. And I think, I had a big kind of momentum shift towards the doctoring, because, I was very privileged for a month to be in Paris for the Paralympics as a doctor, with Team Canada, which is like something that I have been dreaming about since I was 10.
Yeah.
And it was
amazing.
Not being a doctor at the Olympics. It was like, I'm going to go to the Olympics. And my dad saying, well, you need to be an athlete. I was like, well, I'll just go in some form.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be a mascot.
Well, exactly. I'll do anything, right?
Yeah.
So coming back, I was like, okay, I really got re-energized for this whole doctor thing. But then I come back and I'm like, oh, but this acting thing brings me joy. So I think it's a balance, and I think it's also a moving, fluctuating, constantly malleable thing where it's like, no, I want to energetically put energy into this thing, but it's also okay to shift it and then go here one other day.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to my dad, oh, I'm worried that now I'm back and really excited about doing more medicine, acting's going to turn into a hobby, and that means it's not as serious.
Right.
And he goes, Janet, when have you ever not been serious about a hobby ever?
Right.
Like, why? Like, hobbies can be just as serious.
Yeah.
It's just that mindset, a bit of a mindset shift.
I just kind of think that the thing that you if you're satisfied with where you're at, right? So if you go like, are you going to have the kind of career that gets you an Oscar? Maybe. That's acting, though. Like, I'll tell you what I'm not going to get, no matter how fast I start studying medicine, a Nobel Prize for medicine. I'm just not going to do it. It's not going to happen, right? But I think that it is the dedication. So when I see what you're doing, I go, well, like, I don't know. It seems like you just keep pushing for where you are. And if suddenly you want more, then you've got harder decisions to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. I was thinking about you a lot, obviously, because this has been that I've been so excited for this. And I think something that I really admire about what you do is the building of community. And I think there's not a lot of, this sounds mean, but there's not a lot of people who do the building of community in this industry. And that's something that I find it's what's keeping me here. And I don't know if that's like cult mentality. I'm like, why am I still here? It's this community of people who seem to have this same kind of drive and passion for creative output. And so I'm really curious about, like, has that always been you? Like, not, like, I think acting, sometimes we can, like, be like, I am the actor. I am the silo. It is just me, me, me.
Yes.
But you just seem so like, it is us.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't think I am as satisfied being a one-person show. I think that it's why I do improv instead of stand-up. Because I find it lonely.
Yeah.
But I mean, if I'm being less noble about the whole thing, I think I'm probably more scared about going and just making it all about me. I think that's probably, there's fear around that. I think there's ego around it, that it's way easier to say, like, let's look after other people than look after myself that way. So maybe in that sense, but I've always done a bunch. I've always done a bunch of things, and community is always super important to me. And I think that it comes from having that improv mentality of, like, you can't do improv. I mean, you can do one person improv, but you need the audience to tell you where it's going to go. Right. So even if the audience laughs at a certain thing, that's going to guide you to the next step. So I don't know. I'm with you though. This community is pretty extraordinary.
It's really incredible. It's interesting. Like, improv was my introduction to this industry as well too. And I think it was so terrifying because it was a feeling of lack of control. Because you can't plan.
Oh my God. Plan. Talk about two brains.
Oh my God.
Like the doctor control and the improviser lack of control.
So healthy. I don't think there's anything on this planet that I could point to that has made me a better doctor more than improv.
Tell me everything.
Like, it makes me way better at problem solving. But I think it's also made me so much calmer. Because
it's so wild.
Like, there's nothing.
Oh my God, you had a TED Talk. Have you done a TED Talk? That's a TED Talk.
Should be like, improv, doctors, we need it.
I'm not kidding you. The world of yes and in science and in the medical world. Come on.
I think it's so important because I remember thinking, like, the most terrifying thing in my like very type A controlled life is not knowing what's coming next.
Of course.
And that's what improv is. But what is beautiful at improv, as you just said, is you're never hung out to dry. You have people there with you who are like, I am here and I'm going to support you. I'm going to yes and you through this, and we're going to do it. And I think medicine could sure as hell use a lot more of that.
Yeah.
And it's also made me realize, oh my God, I can handle anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's a sense of calm that I think calm focus that improv has given me, that I find I clock when I'm, like, in the operating room or when we're dealing with something. And I know time does that. I've been told in medical school, like, there is a time that everything kind of comes together and you get this, like, okay, everything, shit's hitting the fan, but you have to be the calmest one in the room.
Yeah.
And you feel that, and you get that from just being in this career for a length of time.
Yeah.
But I think I got there a heck of a lot faster because of improv training.
That's fantastic. I have a story to tell you about an operation I had, but do you have, like, a story of when you were practicing either doing surgery or in medicine and you, like, consciously were aware that your improv skills were
100%. There's so many. Like, I have, like, specific ones where I can even just think of being on stage and doing improv and not knowing what to say and feeling that, like, the warmth spread over your face oh my God.
Every show.
Right? Every single one. But then looking in the eyes of who I'm improvising with, and they've got this, like, I've got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got you.
But also, it's not just me. Like, it's when you're in an awkward conversation at a party and there's that weird silence. And then I go, this isn't just my thing to solve. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not just up to me to fill this or to keep talking or be curious.
Totally.
Okay, so keep going then.
Well, yeah, like, I was trying to think of like specific examples. I know I have I do remember, like, a very, very specific one was the first, like, again, won't go into too specifics, but a very, like, stat emergency surgery. I'm called in the middle of the night, like, lights and sirens, get there as fast as you possibly can. And the biggest thing in, like I said, in emergencies with doctors, they always say when you walk in the room, the first thing you do is you check your own pulse, right? You need to be calm. You need to be authoritative.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I've
like
never
check
heard
your
that,
own pulse first. Yeah, it's so good. Before checking the patients, check your own.
Yeah.
Because you need to be. And I just remember feeling, and it's such an interesting feeling that I've been trying to describe to others. It's almost this tunnel vision that comes in, and you're like, am I having a stroke? What's happening? You should be freaking out, but you're like, no, you are calm.
Yeah.
Everyone around you is now calmer because you've walked in, said, I know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an interesting feeling that I felt on stage as well before. It's that, okay, here comes the embarrassment, red face, I don't know what to do. No, like there's literally nothing you can't handle.
Yeah.
Like you've been thrown onto an improv stage.
Yeah.
I think that's scarier.
Yeah. We also have that theory. I know you know it, that bring a brick theory, right? Where you don't have to build the whole building. You just have to bring a brick.
Yeah.
So and I know this is going to surprise a lot of people. I've never done surgery. I've never done any kind of medical procedure. I don't know if I've even played one on TV, but you don't have to do everything. Like you have to lead, obviously, if you're the key surgeon. Is that I pretended like I knew what I was talking about there, key surgeon.
Love it. Works.
But I was having my fibroids taken out.
Ooh.
And I switched at the last minute. Like I couldn't get a hold of my doctor. Shout out to Dr. Grace Liu, who is extraordinary. Like anybody who has ever gone to see Grace wants to be her best friend. She's just an extraordinary doctor.
Love it.
And at the last minute, I decided not to have a hysterectomy. This is a lot of information. But I just changed at the last minute. But I couldn't get a hold of her because it was the Christmas season. Her office was closed. So we go in there and she was like, okay, everybody, we've got Naomi Snieckus here for hysterectomy. And I was like, time out. And she was like, okay, what's going on, Naomi? And I was like, I don't want to have a hysterectomy. I just want to take my fibroids. And she was like, okay. And she kind of gave me the pros and cons really quickly. And I was like, yeah, I've given this a lot of thought. I said, is this okay for your mind to switch this fast? And she was like, doesn't matter. Is it okay for your mind? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yes. And she's like, you got it. Turn that machine off. Turn that machine off. Okay, let's go, folks. And it was and I watched her whole team just go, and it was like a team. I woke up in the morning. I was like, you're great improvisers. I was so thrilled. Yeah. Yeah.
I love stuff like that. I love hearing that because one of the things that makes me, so I've interviewed a lot of people who are crew members, because I like learning about crew.
Yes.
Because I didn't go to theater school. I had the first thing I asked a cinematographer, his name's Jeremy Benning, he did The Expanse, he did a lot of amazing stuff, was like, what's a cinematographer?
Yeah.
And what makes me really emotional when I hear crew members specifically talk about their craft is the amount of time they talk about the team they have built around them.
Yeah.
And building that up. And when you are doing your craft to the highest level and you're excited about it and you have everyone around you also doing that, it's like the most epic group project ever. And there's
100%.
Nobody who's slacking off.
Yeah.
Which is basically my entire high school existence was the one slacker and me being like, oh, come on, group project.
Oh my God. Yes.
But I find that's, again, similar to your story, is not only is this a massive group project where everyone is working together at the highest level, you are also that. You are also involved in that.
Yeah.
I think that's where I find similarities between, medicine has that, we call it multidisciplinary care, where everyone is included, as opposed to the old ways of the doctor knows best.
Right.
And no one can speak up. Because even if they're that's the wrong arm you're cutting off, how dare you? The doctor knows best, right?
Oh
Right?
Yes,
but I think there's been a huge shift. And I see that in the entertainment industry. I mean, obviously there's horror stories to the opposite effect in both of my careers. But I love that community aspect of it.
Yeah, as you said, people at their peak of their jobs are doing their jobs through such beautiful artistry. I was on the Handmaid's set, and that was like that. Every department was creating art. Janet, it was honestly it was amazing because I love the show and I felt really lucky to have that time on that set. But then watching the art department and how they did things not just let's just get it done, but how do we bring even a level of artistry that wasn't being expected, or costumes. Leslie Kavanaugh was this is what I'm thinking this season, and she's so inventive. So it's bringing your A game and then having leaders giving room to the leaders of those departments to step in and shine. So I totally agree.
And I wonder if, like, I think a big thing for that, for me, what clicks in is, I don't know if the right word is humility, but I think, I know what has happened to me, at least as a doctor, as I've gone throughout this career, is this shift of like, I know what's best. I know what's best because I did the training, which deep down, that's pure insecurity talking. To now being like, oh, I don't think I know the answer to this. Let's find out who does.
Yeah.
And
do you feel like you shifted in that? Like, did you find, like, was there a time that you're like, everybody, I have to pretend that I know everything all the time?
100%. I think that's, I guess the word would be imposter syndrome, right? Like, I'm not meant to be here. I'm this, like, everyone says I look too young to be a doctor. And then, you're just trying to fight your way through and be like, God, I wish I was an old British man, because then maybe people would take me seriously in this career. Yeah. But then there is this shift that happens where, at least I felt it, when you're like, oh my God, I just don't care anymore. And I'm like, no, you're right. I don't know the answer to this, and that's fine. And like, did patients think less of me? I sure don't think so.
As long as they're not Googling in front of them. You know what I mean? As long as they aren't like, you can hear the tapping of the doctors and they're like, let me tell you what are your symptoms? And
this is the first time I've done this. I just YouTubed it.
Yeah. And like, is that a Fisher Price? I'm going to call it a telescope. It's not. Stethoscope. Okay, so was there a time in your doctor-actor career that you thought you might have abandoned one of them in the last 4 years?
Oh, yeah.
Like, did you ever think you'd abandon being a doctor for being an actor?
100%.
What was the turning point?
I don't think there was. I think the turning point was, the pandemic. It was so huge. I don't think there's a single healthcare professional out there who wasn't like, why am I doing this?
I know.
I think we're feeling it now, right? The effects of it. And I think it's so, frustrating. And I think never did I think that acting could be financially, I didn't think I was ever capable of doing that, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to try, because there's stories of that, and why not me, right? And I'm just so frustrated with this side of my life, and I just don't want to do it anymore. So just pure burnout speak talking.
Totally.
And, I think what happened, there was a huge, shift, therapy, learning to find that joy in medicine again. Yeah. But I think what really did that was realizing that I think careers like medicine, like law, that require such tunnel vision focus to become it. Yeah. My entire 20s and most of my 30s were gone, and that sounds very dramatic, but like we're tunnel vision focused to becoming a doctor. Yeah. And I've been in school since I was,
just like focused on something else.
Focused on something else, right? Yeah. And I think, the 7-year itch happened, as it does with most people in most careers. Yeah. And I started doing something else as well. And slowly I was like, oh, if I can do both of these things that do bring me joy, that made medicine more joyful because I was able to have something else.
I feel like that too. I feel like that goes with, even within my world. Like, I love doing the different things because it does let me switch gears and bring joy. And also I learned from that aspect, that project, that I bring into this project. So in a different way, it's I feel the same way.
Can I know the origin story of Firecrackers? Like, all this like community talk, I'm like, how does this even get started?
So 6 years ago, Carousel Pictures reached out to me and said, we want to produce a podcast with you hosting. Do you have an idea? And I was like, yes. And I'd had this idea of doing a female-centric podcast. And they were like, great. And so they started helping me produce it. And I was working with Caitlin Curcio, and I said, like, let's have a meeting, because a bunch of friends had reached out and said, hey, if you ever need any help with like building a website or a newsletter. And I was like, actually, I could really do with some help, because it's just the two of us. And so we had this little meeting, and it just blew up because why? I don't know. I think it just called people's names in a weird way, like there would be somebody that was like, oh, well, I want to do comedy. And I was like, great. So you're going to be the head of the comedy department. Somebody else said, I want to do writing. I was like, great. So you're going to be the writing department head, the mentorship department head. So everybody came like these different departments, and it went from like 2 people to like 50 people over. Like it was too much. It was one of those. I think I said yes and way too much because it was like, whoa. And then we kind of did like one of those things where you try everything for the first couple of years. The pandemic really focused us in a lot of ways because it helped go online, and we did script readings online. We did a weekly writing session online. We did a lot of like mentorship panels online, and and I think also there was a turning point when that guy Donald Trump got elected.
Oh yeah,
because we were living in Los Angeles, and I was really I was scared because I didn't realize how far away the glass ceiling was. I thought we were like breaking it, like women in the world were through the glass ceiling, and it wasn't the case. So that was scary. And then I was really angry because he just spoke so poorly and had such misogynistic accusations, or not even accusations, but he had such an approach to women that was just not acceptable and really made me ragey. So I kind of came to a place. I remember tweeting something in the days of tweeting, and my husband was like, "Oh, that doesn't really sound like you. You sound really like angry." And I was angry, so I thought, well, I can get even more angry, or I can just put that into the Firecracker Department and just like make that so loud that it outshines and deadens the sound of his voice. Yeah. So that's kind of where it came to it. And then 6 years later, it's like this really cool little community. We just started a chapter in Vancouver and Calgary. And it feels like it's a great plate for me to spin when it's like slow in the acting world and voiceover world. I can turn to that. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And it is around the community. It is around, like, I was living in Los Angeles and I was like, where are my people? And then you sort of find your people that way.
Yeah. And I think that's where there are a lot of people who are coming into this industry later on in life, whether they're acting, writing, doing whatever creative aspect in the entertainment industry. Their first step in has been networking within Firecrackers. Because,
interesting.
Like because people have been like, female, non-binary, female identifying individual. Here's some people. And I think what's so terrifying for a lot of us is the fact that we didn't go to theater school, so we don't have a community that has been like built, trauma bonded through theater school or whatever. So now it's kind of like, okay, how do I get started in this? And it's like, here are some people who not only have done that, but like want to support you as opposed to gatekeep how to do it. That's the experience I've had. With Firecrackers.
I think that's in line. Like, I think also we kind of come from a place of like, I don't know, inclusivity, so that if you're starting your career or if you're really advanced in your career, we're all artists. We're all still trying to make stuff. Like, somebody's holding my hand as I write my first, like Virginia Abramovich held my hand while I wrote my first funding application. But then I'm going to hold somebody else's hand to teach them how to use Google Drive. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think that if we're all like working together as equal artists, I think we're going to get more done. And we're always like, and there's like a discussion of creative action that happens a lot in Firecracker Department. Oh, hello. Dog. Not my dog. We're dog sitting.
That's awesome.
I'm wondering how long that's going to go.
I'm a fan of pets on my show. I've had some very cute ones.
Yeah, she's so penny. She's so lovely, but she won't let me, like, I'll be like, come on, I'm going to cuddle you. And then she's like, no, thank you. On
my own time, thanks.
But we're all, like, in the world of creative action, so that, like, you can be inspired to a level, but then you have to see it taken into action. That's really important to me.
Yeah, and well, I think that's where I find, I don't know, again, maybe this is a broad generalization. I think where I have gotten frustrated in this industry, where it's very different from medicine, is that there's a lot of people who are yes people, not yes and, or just like yes, and then no action behind it.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's why I've been really, like, again, you can't do that in medicine because you can't be like, yeah, we'll do your surgery, and then it just doesn't come to fruition.
Yeah, that's funny.
It's been interesting.
What about, like, in medicine, like your research work? Like, don't you have to keep up your research? And isn't there a lot of like yes maybes in that world?
Yeah, and I think that's why I did grad school. I did not like that part of it. Yeah. There are a lot of people who do a lot of research, especially in big city centers. I work in very rural areas for that exact reason. I was not a fan of that white tower publish until you perish type thing. There are wonderful human beings who do it. I think a lot of work needs to be done on that aspect of it because of exactly that. And I think this is the same with any type of organization, right? You're like, I don't want to be involved in, I don't know, government because it's just people yelling at each other and nothing gets done. People saying, we'll do that. Let's have a meeting to discuss a meeting with a committee and a committee. You're like, nothing's getting done. There's no action here. I'd rather be on the ground, front lines, actually doing stuff.
Yeah, agreed. Me too. Is that why you started this podcast?
Yeah, I think you get the nail on the head there. Yeah.
It feels like you started, like I was just looking back at the interviews that you've done in this podcast, and it feels like you were gone into your own theater school. Like you kind of created your own masterclass series to take you on the route that you needed to go. That's
really cool. And I think it's funny when I've had people ask me like, what are you getting out of it? Like, and I'm like, well, there's nothing financial, that's for dang sure. Right. Like I'm hemorrhaging money here, right? Like but holy crow, have I ever gotten not only like wonderfully social, I love this. You know, this is my dream is to sit here and chat with you. Like this is so fun. Yeah. But you're right, like hearing from people whose careers not only I admire, but also whose careers are just starting. Has been really, really fascinating and encouraging, inspiring, and I think that's a really interesting way to think about it. I never really thought about it that way. That's really cool.
Well, it kind of gives you a good platform, right? To be like, and this is something with Firecracker Department we always talk too about, like the Venn diagram of like what you need and what Firecracker Department needs, and where that crosses over is like the sweet spot. Yeah. So you're fueling your fire by having these discussions that are educating you, but then you're also like supporting a community member and getting them, you know, having a light shine on them. So I think it's good.
I think it's wonderful. And I mean, I definitely love that. And that's something I've thought of, you know, with this podcast over the last couple months, saying, you know, where do I want to go with it? What's going to happen to it? You know, will I end it, kind of thing. But what I love so much is giving people, especially newer actors, who a lot of people have been like, I've never been interviewed before. This
I know, it's interesting, isn't it?
And I'm like, yay! I'm so happy to like support you in this. And just promote whatever the heck you're doing, because people are doing such cool stuff that's just trying to propel this industry forward, especially in Canada, where we're such a baby little industry that needs to compete against these juggernauts in the United States. It's like, let's just get some stuff out there and cheerlead and champion people.
You're also a really good producer. I don't know if that's because you have like the theoretical mind and the
OCD,
the OCD role. No, but like the live podcast recording that you did with Deb and Colin and Ava. Wasn't Ava the stand-up?
Yes.
Oh my God, she was so good. She's come and done stand-up at our show too.
Fabulous.
I just love her to death. I know, I totally fell for it. I don't know if she told you, but I took this picture of her and she was standing near the exit sign. I didn't even know, like I didn't want it to be creepy, but it was such a cool shot of her. Anyway, it was a great event. Deb and Colin were great, but you produced it so well. Like it's such a key to doing these kind of things, because people think, you know, everybody can do a podcast. It's what you do past the recording that is interesting, because it's a lot. It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work. And I think, again, it's that, you know, people saying, well, what the heck are you, why are you doing this? You know, what are you getting out of this? Like, oh, I think so much is, and again, it is kind of selfish, I think, you know, like, but is it though? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, this is what I'm telling you about, like that Venn diagram thing. Because I think it maybe it is selfish, but it's also serving. So it's a pretty great balance. Do you have an idea of where, like, do you have a longevity plan? Do you have any, like, you do, of course, you have a 3, 2, 5 year plan, everything.
You know what? And I guess maybe this will be like the perfect time to announce this. Like, I can't talk too much about what I have coming up. But I've got some exciting things happening I will be finishing the podcast.
Okay.
On episode 175.
Amazing.
Which is next May. And the last episode will be my episode. where I have a friend of mine. I will not announce who this person is because I'm very excited for who they are. Will be interviewing me.
Fun. That's super fun.
I'm so excited. It'll be great. Yeah, because I think, it's one of those things where I'm really enjoying this. I really, like, my dream job would be, like, chatting one-on-one with people.
Yeah.
But I'm noticing, like, I think, I want the Schitt's Creek. I want the, it's just getting good, and let's end it. I don't know.
Yeah.
If that's
you want to leave on a high point.
Leave on a high note. That's good. Yeah.
So do you think you'll? Oh yeah. I mean, you have plans you can't tell me about, but do you think you'll do other podcasts?
No comment.
Okay.
Yeah.
No comment. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I can't wait to see what you do.
Yeah. Likewise.
Yeah.
Now you have some cool stuff coming up.
We've got some cool. So Matt and I, is this what you're talking about? My mic show?
Yes.
So
I was
Matt,
like, please promote because I'm very excited for it.
Yeah. We're writing this show called Big Stuff. It's going to be on at Crow's in November 2024. I don't know when you're listening to this. And we've been writing it for a year, and it's really interesting. It's been a really interesting process because Matt and I have improvised together for like over a decade, but we've never really written, I guess we've written a little bit of scripted stuff together, but this is like way more personal than we've ever written. So it's been really interesting and challenging and beautiful and tricky and all the things. Last night we sat around our table and had our friend Rebecca Northan, who's from Blind Date, and she's also got the show Goblins, Macbeth Goblins. And yeah, she created that. She's in it as well.
I'm so excited. I'm going to see it.
She's an amazing artist. So she was there, and then of course our director Kat Sandler, who also is extraordinary. She's opening a show written by Rosa Lombardi from the Tarragon, and she's doing a show at Stratford, an adaptation of Anne of Green Gables. Oh my God. And then Rachel Moore, who's been helping just with some great assistant direction visions, and she's a great improviser and actor as well. So we had this great sort of connected time at the table that makes the script go, maybe it's going to be like this. Like it's a very fluid. We've only got a month left before we go into rehearsals, so we're really going to have to make some choices, but it's definitely flipping and flopping back and forth these days.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And again, I think that like, again, the community idea, right? Which we're kind of harping on, like finding your people who will help with this hugely vulnerable undertaking.
Oh my God, so important.
Champion it.
Yeah. Yeah, like having Rebecca and Kat and Rachel's brains, and we were reading this play and they're like, here, what about these ideas? Like, it's just so incredibly valuable. And it's like, it's a show about it. It's called Big Stuff because it's all about the stuff that you deal with when people die around you. My parents both passed away in 2020, and so we were left with like a basement of their stuff and then a bunch of stories in our hearts, and we're like, well, what do we do with that? So it's been a really I thought I knew my husband before, and now we're taking our relationship up to 11.
Yeah,
like how much we know each other well.
I think that is so cool and exciting. And yeah, I think like vulnerable is the word that immediately like rockets into my head, being like, wow, it's one of those things where I think what's so important I find about this career is the like legacy build and the legacy of story. And I think that's where I think people are like, oh, it's a whimsical career of being an actor. And you're like, no, like the only thing that survives generation to generation to generation is the stories that we tell and like pass on.
And even those, like this, like, cause it's funny, we talk a lot about legacy because of my parents passing away. And like, my father was nominated for a Nobel Prize, and like he's renowned in the science world, but like even he will pass into other people's memories. You know what I mean? Like it is like, what, when people are like, what's your legacy? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'd love the idea of like people remembering me for a laugh that they had at one of my shows. I would love that. But the truth is, some people don't know who Carol Burnett is. And if they don't know who Carol Burnett is, they certainly won't remember me. Do you know what I mean? You just have like this fight of like legacy feels a bit. But
I think something like this, like, I don't know, there's such a, I don't know, like permanence to the creation of like, of something like that, right? Where you are like, yeah, who knows, one person sees it, 1 million people see it. But like, I don't know, there's just something about the creation of art that there's a permanence to it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think they talk about storytelling, right? Because that's like, it's a tradition of storytelling that goes on and on and on. And so maybe they'll tell the story of this and that, but they'll be like, I can't remember the lady, but she did this thing. I think that'll happen.
She was on show Mr. Nate.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I can't remember who it was, but she did that funny thing.
You know what's funny? I will never, ever forget seeing you do improv. The long form that you all did on that stage. I've never seen.
Which theater?
Okay. Oh my gosh, it's on King West. Smaller theater. Oh my gosh, Janet, that's terrible.
King West?
Was it King West?
Or was it Queen West? Theater Past Mariah?
No. Oh my gosh, it was one. You guys were again, long form improv, of course, on an airplane, and you landed somewhere, and there was like a fruit stand, and it was just, again, it doesn't matter
I love
where
it.
it was.
Can you imagine if I know exactly the show you're talking about, the airplane with the fruit stand.
But it was my first time seeing live long form improv, and I just sat there like, what? How? It was just brilliant.
Oh. Well, that's nice. Thank you.
I think, I love asking this question. Do you have any, again, I don't know, this is a major flip in the conversation, but do you have any advice for actors to, I think, not only gain comfort in an experience like improv, but also just gain comfort in this bizarro industry?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can flip that right back to you too, though, right? Because I think that even maybe we've had different experiences, but I bet you have stuff that you're like, I'll never do that again, or I'll always do that again. As you started out because I also think it's interesting, you started your career during COVID.
Yes.
Which is
Zoom improv. Yeah.
It just had a glitch there. We came back. Say it again. What did you say?
Zoom improv is how I started. Improv over Zoom.
So now there's a little delay. Okay.
It's weird.
Say something. Okay, now you're back.
Oh.
Okay. So we'll get either edit that out or
edit that out.
A highlight. So you started during COVID, and as you said, Zoom improv, not the ideal way to improvise. But because I would say it's muscles, right? When anybody says oh my God, improv, I could never do improv. Anybody can do improv. I do think, but you have to want to do it so badly that you're willing to fail a whole bunch. And, Matt and I were at Second City, so we were doing improv shows 6 nights a week. And there was times that we would get into ruts of being oh my God, I've got 7 bad shows in a row. And you just feel like it's awful. And then suddenly something flips and you get out of it. So my advice is just to do the thing that you want to do and not wait for somebody else to let you do it. Yeah. So even improv, get a troupe together, get on stages. If you have an opportunity to, do a show in somebody's backyard at 4:00 in the morning, just go and do it because it'll teach you something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a quick kind of question about that's a piece of advice. It's such a great piece of advice. But what do you think stops people from doing it?
Well,
just anything in general,
first of all,
hitting a wall.
But I want to hear your advice. What would be your advice?
What's funny? Mine is it's very similar.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of just get off your butt and actually do it.
Yeah.
Take an acting class, see if you actually like it. Take an improv class because that makes your acting so much better, and then find your community. Yeah. Is the biggest piece of advice I've ever had. I think that's key too.
The find your community is really important.
Yeah. That you're not alone in this.
Yeah.
Other people are having tough times and finding it stressful and being what in the blue blazes is this audition wanting me to do? Yeah. I think that's what makes it fun.
I would also say your community that are going to not just be your cheerleaders, but be your, not just your advocates, but be your counselor. That's not the right word, but that aren't just going to blow smoke constantly.
Yes.
To train your dear friends to be I need you to actually tell me what you think of this piece that I just did.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's really valuable too. And otherwise we're going to go, I think it's really important to be able to give yourself your notes. Whenever I teach improv and people are okay, what are your notes on that scene? I'm well, what are your notes? Because I bet they're the same. And if you have yourself trained to give yourself notes, then we're not going to be what do you think? What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but why do you think people, like the question is, why do you think people don't go into this industry?
Oh no, what stops people from doing it? Because I think that's a piece of advice that is one of the best pieces of advice, but it is one we hear a lot, right? Like, just go do it.
Yeah.
Every phone has an amazing camera on it.
Yeah.
Just go shoot a short film. And people are like, yeah. And then nobody does.
Okay, so then I would ask both of us. So like the thing that we want, like whether it's you want to be on a series, I'd love to be another regular on a series. What's stopping us from doing that? Because you're right. That's exactly what we tell our people. So what do you think stops somebody like you or somebody like me from doing it?
My gut instinct wants to immediately blame the other.
Yeah.
Right? Be like, it's not me.
Right.
I'm great.
Right.
It's like, I'm not a demographic that they want anymore. If they could just meet me in person instead of these stupid self-tapes, they'd be like, yeah, she's so fun. I want to work with her. Blame everything else but myself. It's like the initial gut reaction.
And once that's out of the way?
Right? Yeah. It'd be like, it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And it's a lot of vulnerability of like putting yourself out there. Like I don't think this industry is for the faint of heart. I think it's a crap load of work. So if you don't love it, don't or do it to the level that you're happy with. But like as soon as I start thinking about something that is unattainable, I have to also step back and go, well, why am I not? I have the capabilities. I just have to get to work. So I think there's a lot of folks that, and including with me, like there's fear about trying something and failing. There's fear of the amount of work that it takes.
Yeah.
We've got a show in development right now. I've got 2 shows in development right now, and they've been in development, one for 5 years, the other one for 2. And that's the process. So yeah.
And I think that's something really key that I definitely have needed to learn. And I think so much of our world right now is like this instant gratification because you can be plucked from obscurity or not the shopping mall anymore, or like TikTok.
TikTok's the shopping mall of the 2000s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like now you're a massive celebrity and a superstar. So but that doesn't happen that often, if rarely ever. But there's that expectation of, if it doesn't happen right away, it wasn't meant to happen. But you hear about, and again, like your shows, and I've heard about, I can't even remember which film it was, but something like Elf or something like that took years and years and years to get made.
You don't know.
You don't know.
It's like, do you know what? I made a poster of the just keep going. Because I really think that's the only advice I would say is keep going. Don't, if you need to take a break and go for walks to let your brain open up, absolutely. But otherwise, get to work. What's your project? Find your people and then just keep going. Because nobody's going to tell you, who knows the right way to do anything? Right? It might just be the one element of a show or a script that turns, it might be involving that one person, it might be a location, and then suddenly it just opens it all up. So, I don't know, just keep going.
Yeah. And I think what I've really noticed, especially, for example, I'm shooting my second short film next Monday.
Amazing.
And
so much work, right, Jen?
I
know. Yeah, even when you have a crew and a cast and people saying, I'm going to help you, it's still a crap load of... Yeah.
Yeah. But I think what's really cool, again, harping on the community thing, because I really can't... That is the most important thing I'm realizing in this, is this idea of there's some really great humans out there who want to work hard and do good things with good people.
Yeah.
And it can be tricky to sometimes find them, and you have to kind of experiment and be like, okay, let's have this crew. Oh, it didn't quite work that time.
Yeah.
Like you as a person, not as a professional. But I think that's where I'm finding it's taking longer than I thought it would. But it's actually one of the most enjoyable parts of this industry is finding my community, finding the people I want to work with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And be kind along the way, right? Because once you find those people, they'll remember. They'll remember when you're a dick.
This industry is so small.
Yeah.
Especially in Canada and especially in Toronto. Everyone knows everyone, and word gets out so fast. It's the same in medicine, right?
Is it?
Oh gosh, yeah.
So in medicine, do you have oh my God, that guy's paper is just don't even talk to that doctor. You're not going to get the time of day. Do you have those people?
Of course. I think every industry does, right? And I think it's interesting because, for a lot of things, you can choose who you work with. Like in the operating room, like the key surgeon.
Is that really the word? Key
no.
surgeon? Oh, nice try, Snieckus.
Well, the head surgeon, surgeon, or whatever,
makes sense.
can make some selections of like, oh, I want to work with this person as an assist. This is the scrub nurse I'm going to bring in.
Yeah.
Because like, why would you not do that? Like, these are people who know
so you have your own like cast within the operating room. I've never even thought about that, but of course you do.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
You've got, and then so you hear about, of course, like this director Christopher Nolan is going to work with the same composer, the same DP, the same cast, because he's like, these people are awesome. I want to work with them. They're part of my. Of course.
Yeah. Although I will say, I agree with you. And I will say also somebody like Deb Kimmett, who's a really fantastic comedian and has just written this great book called Window Shopping for God. And her next live show, she's gotten like somebody younger than her to direct it, which I really love too. Like, even though she might have had like people, I think it's Paul Bates who's directing her. And I think even though she's had people before that she really works well together, she's been like, I need to like shift things. I need to bring in a different generation. So I love that aspect too.
My first film, first short film that I did, I think over 50% of the crew were like fresh out of film school.
Yeah.
Like they did it all volunteer. We're just so excited to be on a film set. We had like pure all women, non-binary individuals. And
amazing.
I feel so proud because like I reached out to them for my second film and all of them are like, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm like booked all the way till November. I'm like,
oh, yes.
Yes, that's what I want.
Yes.
I'm so happy that you're not available to work on my short film because you're really good at your job and you're working big network stuff.
Beautiful.
Heck yes. That's
So
exactly
what's your
what I want.
second, can you tell me what your second short film, the premise?
Yes, it's really, really, it's going to be so fun. So it's written by Netta Rose.
Oh, yeah,
who,
right on.
You know them?
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
So it is called The Lift, and it's a very cute queer comedy, and it's based on a true story that happened to Netta about their time shoplifting. I won't say any more.
I'm in already.
But it's just a great, I think a lot of us I know Netta reached out to me and said, you know what, I'm in a rut. This industry is right now, and I'm feeling creatively that nothing has happened. Can we just get everyone together from your short film again and just make something?
Yeah.
Who cares what's going to happen with
I know.
it? Can we just have fun, have a day where we play and find cool people? And that's what's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm so
That's
thrilled
very
that
exciting.
they chose me to be in it and chose me to bring this to life. And so this is exactly, I'm just like already so excited, even though like you were saying it's a huge amount of work.
But like it is that like the amount of work, and then you're on set and you're like, oh, it's all worth it because you get to do that part of the art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, when we do wrap-ups with Firecracker Department, I ask Firecracker Department questions. You want to
yes,
go
because
through a couple of those?
I have one question for second act actors as well too.
Okay, good.
Oh, I'm excited. Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give you a couple, and then you can give me your second act question at the end, maybe?
Okay.
All right,
Sounds
fill
good.
in the blank. To me, a firecracker is?
A powerful, passionate individual who desires community.
Love it. What do you want to be best known for?
I want to be best known for championing the careers of others.
Wow, that's pretty clear. Does that surprise you when you said that out loud?
No, because I have, I'm going to show this to you. My little sticky note.
Yeah.
This is my, what's the word I'm looking for? Mission statement
Yes.
that I made with my my acting coach
Yes.
and therapist, and it's to give voice to my inner child so that others can begin to hear theirs.
That's great. I love it.
I really
love
like
that.
it. So it's I love,
Wait, your acting coach is also your therapist?
Well, she does I shouldn't say that. She's not a therapist. She's very distinctive about that. But she
Right.
does a lot of embodiment, movement, mindfulness work.
Yeah.
And also is acting.
Yeah, love it. Okay, what's something that people don't know about you?
Ooh. Let me see. Something fun?
I don't know. What's the thing that comes to your mind first?
The thing that comes to my mind first. Let's see. I can rap. I can there's a lot of very vulgar and crude hip hop songs because that's how when I run, I listen to very, very, very aggressive hip hop and rap.
Okay.
So, if you name like a 90s rap song, I can probably do it all.
Okay. I'm not going to ask, but we could do that as a special feature.
I was in the operating room last Wednesday night, and it was like 2 a.m, and we're listening to music because we're trying to stay awake.
Yeah.
And a song.
Wait, you're trying to stay awake as you're doing surgery?
Well, like it's 2 a.m, right? You're like, you know, you have to. But a song by Ice Cube comes on, and everyone's kind of like, oh God, like what's this song? And I'm like, I know all the lyrics. And like, Dr. McMordie, what is happening? I'm like,
Dr.
Nothing.
McMordie. Do people call you Dr. McMordie when you're an actor? Like, okay, next in the casting room, Dr. McMordie?
No, my patients don't even call me Dr. McMordie. I have I have like some very cute older male patients who call me Doc, and I love that.
That's very sweet.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Who's a firecracker? I mean, you mentioned Netta, who I agree, Netta's extraordinary. Who's a firecracker in your world that you can shine a light on?
I was like, my immediate guess is like you.
No, you can't.
The Podemsky sisters.
Oh yeah, for days and days and days.
For days and days and days. Little Bird, and it's interesting because I've never actually met either of them, except for I saw them at their Firecrackers brunch during TIFF last year. But I'm pretty sure, like Jennifer reached out to me because we both work in Aurelia.
Yeah.
And she's like, I think my office is right near your office.
Wow.
What? Like, just a very random connection, because that's where I go when I'm headed up north.
Yeah.
Where I do a lot of my doctoring. But the Little Bird was, like, one of those shows that made me want to stay in the industry. So I was like, this is a show that I want to be a part of.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, this is the type of show. I was just so... It rocked me in a way that I hadn't been like shook in a long time.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
What's advice? What's advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh gosh, I think
know it's not an easy question. We ask it all the time, but it's
so funny because again, my like coach who I've been working with, we do a lot of inner child stuff. Yeah. And, oh baby, I think my advice to my younger self, besides like, oh my God, like your bangs are awesome. Nobody cares about what you look like. Eat everything. You know, your parents are the greatest humans on the planet. But I think I think my little self would just be so stoked that this is who I am right now.
Yeah. Like
this is where I am, where I live, what I'm doing with my time. Little me would be like, this is awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Like, that is so cool.
It's gonna be fine.
It's gonna be fine, and you're gonna be like really great and surrounded by really great people.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Those are all my firecracker questions, and you got all of them right.
Oh
yeah, I know you're worried about that. So
I am, as a type A personality who loves school and education. I'm like, did I get the quiz right?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Check.
So we've talked. My questions are usually. So we talked about like anything that you're looking forward to, which you kind of promoted your new show. Yeah. What would your like parents, loved ones, or guardians? What would they say you do for a living? How would they describe it?
My father used to say that I worked for Saturday Night Live with Eugene Levy. Wrong. It was Second City, and Eugene Levy was not in the cast. And my mom would say she was an actor. I think that they would both call me actors. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's I know. Awesome. I'm really lucky, you know, like I get to do, we get to do what we want to do. And if that's the way I live my life, we have a pretty charmed existence. I often say, if heaven forbid, I die tomorrow, but if I did, I've had a great time. I've got to do a lot of stuff that I've always wanted to do with some really amazing people. I'm married to a really great guy, and we have some amazing friends. And so, yeah, I feel pretty lucky.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite funny moment on set? Or on stage?
Favorite funny moment? Gosh. I should have that story. That's like a cocktail story, shouldn't it? I guess, okay, the thing that comes to mind, it's not overly funny, but I had food poisoning. I was doing a show at the Belfry in Victoria, British Columbia. We were doing Picasso at Le Pain Agile, and I had food poisoning, and you can't do anything about food poisoning. You can't like take a pill and have it go away.
Let it go.
So I
Get out of
said
you.
like, I'm gonna just sleep until we start, and I'll just, because we don't have an understudy. There's no understudies. So the show started, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm okay. It's passed. And I said, just put a stool on stage, because I'm on stage 90% of the show. So just put a stool on stage. If I feel like woozy, I'll just sit down. And then on stage, I'm like, this is great. And then you know that feeling of like sweat? Like you just get like a wave of like, oh, nope, I'm not going to be okay. And I looked at my friend on stage and I went, excuse me. And I left the stage. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, ma'am. And I left the stage, and the stage manager was waiting there with a bucket, and I vomited in the bucket. I went down, brushed my teeth, and then came back and did the rest of the show.
Oh my gosh.
It's not like a funny story, but it's like, yeah, that was like a...
The show must go on.
Yeah. How about you?
That's
What's
incredible. Yours? Ooh, yeah, it's funny. Ooh, again, it's not really a funny story, but I remember the very first theater show that I did, you know, kind of coming back into this. Like I'd been in high school, a musical in high school once, but I did a theater show in like 2021. So like right when the pandemic was like kind of lifting a little wee bit. And I had for the first time in my life a complete and utter blank. What my line was.
Yeah, those are
complete
fun.
and utter blank.
Yeah.
I had never experienced that before. I thought I was having a stroke.
Yeah.
I looked at my castmate who was right beside me. She knew exactly what was going on.
Yeah, because you could see it in your eyes.
She could see there was a pure terror. And again, that we were talking about before with improv, her looking at me being like, I've got you. If you don't think of the line in the next couple seconds, I'm here with you.
Amazing.
The look she had on her face, I will never forget that look. I've like kept it in my like memory bank forever because the line did come, but it was just that sheer terror. And I've never, again, this is why I think live stage is more terrifying than medicine. I had never felt that before in my entire life. I thought I was about to die.
Yeah. And then
like,
you
and my
didn't.
friends were like, nope, that's theater.
Yeah. Were you doing improv before or after that?
I had done it before.
Yeah. So you had a little bit of the muscles of like, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, it's gonna be okay. But there was that moment in time when I didn't know what was happening to me.
I get it.
Because it just came out of the blue. It was like show 6 out of 8, you know, it's like not like it was opening night, like we just done it a million times.
Yeah. That's when you let your guard down and be like, oh, you think this is going to be easy for you? Nope. Boom.
Nope. We're going to be like,
yeah.
That was, I will never forget that moment. And it was, but again, knowing that my scene mate was there, she's like, I got you, girl. I got you.
Oh, that's a good story.
Yeah. My final question is always, do you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
Well, I think what we were talking about, like the keep going and be kind to other people, but be kind to yourself too. This business isn't easy. So go easy on yourself. And because there's enough criticism coming from other folks, just like, give yourself like, I know we always keep a little bottle of champagne in the fridge for when we get like a victory. We don't always drink it anymore, but there was a while, whatever, like, I don't know, we booked something or we finished a show and we'd be like, we just toasted. Like, make sure you're celebrating the little things along the way too, because it's super easy to be like, I'm not doing this. I didn't book that. Blah, blah, blah. But like, recognize the things that you're doing too, because they'll get you through the other stuff.
I love that.
Yeah. What about you? What's yours?
Oh, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, I should have that.
I know,
every so often a guest like you like flips it and it's like, I think it's, you know, really and truly, you know, building that community of people around you.
Yeah.
And that can take time and it can, you know, people will come in your life, people will come out of your life, but like build that community of trusted advisors, like you were saying, who are there to champion you, cheerlead for you, because they're out there. I think it just can take some time to find those right people.
Yeah.
And I love that idea of celebrating the little wins.
Yeah.
And just keeping it fun. Keeping all the auditions fun because they're ridiculous. Keeping the callbacks fun, they're ridiculous. This industry is ridiculous. It's supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep it as fun as possible.
Yeah. I think what you're doing is great. I hope I get to see you soon in person.
Oh my gosh, that would be the absolute dream.
Maybe we'll improvise together on stage sometime. That would be fun.
I think I might have a heart attack.
No.
That would be
No.
so
But then you
fun.
could just be like, I'm having a heart attack. Let me just
That's
clear.
right. Or I could just
like you do it yourself.
Or I just look at you with fear in my eyes and be like, I got you, girl.
Yeah, I got you. Clear. I don't know what these paddles are, but I'll use them.
I'm the key doctor now.
That's right.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for tuning in for this very special podcast, 2-for-1 dealio between myself and Naomi Snieckus, second act actors, Firecracker Department. What an absolute joy and honor it was to blend our podcasts together. Fabulous. Thank you, Naomi, so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to chat with me. I love hearing your story. I'm just constantly in awe of you and your improvising incredibleness. I'm going to put links to in the show notes below to more information on the Firecrackers Department and their podcast. They are absolutely incredible and doing amazing things for women, non-binary, and female identifying individuals within our community here in Canada in the entertainment industry. Please check them out. And I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.